Mr. Fascal has cut my hair since I moved to the city about 3 years ago. He's an older guy, maybe 50s or 60s, and he possesses that look and drawl that makes me think he's from up north somewhere. He could be from New York, Maine, or even the Great Lakes area, but I never asked him where. He's not a big guy, maybe a $120 in the rain, and he cuts my hair just the way I like it. High and tight on the sides, leave some on top so whoever I'm sleeping with has something to play with, and neaten up my sideburns. I can't grow a real beard, or he'd probably trim that for me too. The best part is that he does it all for free. Hard to believe, I know, but it seems there was a cost after all. Our relationship started easily enough. I had an interview with the city, maintenance and custodial, and I wanted to look sharp and make a good impression. Everything other than that paid nothing or barely nothing, and I really wanted to lock this job down. I had a nice set of interview clothes, some comfortable business shoes, and a winning smile, and I needed a sharp haircut to seal the deal. That is where the problem lies. My hair grows abnormally fast. It always has, and when I was a kid my dad used to bemoan the fact. He made jokes about going to barber school or buying stock in master cuts, but he always understood that when it was time for a cut, it was time for a cut. If you let it go longer than 2 weeks without a cut, it just turns into a shapeless mass. By the end of week 3, I looked like a sheepdog, and Dad would look over his paper and sigh before saying he would take me to the barber. Fascal's Hair and Beards was about a block from my house, and when I stuck my head in to see their prices, Mr. Fascal looked up and smiled at me over the pile of hair he was sweeping up. Then suddenly, he took a deep breath, and when he opened his eyes again I asked if everything was okay. "Just fine, young man." "Say, you look like a man in need of a haircut, am I right?" I told him he sure was, and he invited me in and told me to have a seat. He had about 1,000,000 questions on that first visit. No, I didn't usually let it get this long. I liked it this way, but a little long on top. No, I didn't use any special shampoo, just dandruff shampoo from the Dollar General. No, I wasn't really prone to dry scalp, but a fella can never be too careful. On and on and on and on until finally, it was done. He had cut it just right, the perfect length, the perfect fade, everything. I asked him what I owed him, and he told me it was free. "Come on," I'd said, "you gotta charge me something. I let my customers pay what they can afford," he said, "so whatever you can afford is fine with me. Think of it as a tip." I was okay with that and walked out with a free haircut while Mr. Fascal waved me out with a $10 tip. I left with a spring in my step. I felt like a new man, and I was ready for that job interview. I went home, got a shower, and when I looked in the mirror, I knew I had this. The next time I went to see Mr. Fascal, I left him a $20 tip and told him it was all thanks to him that I had gotten my awesome new job. For the next couple of years, I always went to Mr. Fascal when I needed a cut. If I had a date coming up, I went to Fascal's. Promotion interview at work? Fascal's. I told friends about his shop. I went there just to get a touch-up and talk with the old fella. In no time at all, Mr. Fascal and I were friends. He liked the same sports team I did, watched a lot of the same movies and TV shows I did, and even liked a lot of the same classic rock that I did. It was great, and I always looked forward to my bi-monthly haircut. Then about 2 months ago, it all changed. I had come in to get my bi-monthly cut, telling Mr. Fascal about the previous week as he cut and styled my hair. He was always meticulous, getting everything just right as he cut and trimmed, and when he turned me around to look into the mirror it was the same way I had gotten it for the last 3 years. I thanked him, handed him $10, and told him I'd see him soon. "Of course," Mr. Fascal said, sweeping up the hair, "come back anytime." I was leaving, almost a block up the street, when I realized I didn't have my sunglasses. They were my brand new Oakleys, and they had cost quite a bit of cash. I remembered having them when I came up, taking them off my head and setting them down at the station Mr. Fascal used. No problem, I thought, I'll just go back and get them. I stepped in saying I had forgotten my sunglasses, and was just gonna grab them, and that's when I saw him. Mr. Fascal was looking up guiltily, his eyes panicked. He was down on all fours, eating the hair he had swept up off the ground like he was a cow in the field. When he turned, I could see pieces of hair sticking to his lip like accusations. He stood up, whipping himself off, brushing at his mouth as he tried to explain. I know how this looks, and I'll admit that yes, I was eating your hair. But, you have to understand, your hair is what I look forward to. I don't eat just anyone's hair, well, I used to. Now I can't wait to see you come in so I can eat something good. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. He shouted, getting up as he stalked toward me. He seemed to realize that saying that made him sound crazy, so he switched gears. Haven't I always done good work for you? There's nowhere in this town that you would get a haircut for less than $25. I cut your hair for tips. I've cut your hair for the dollars in your pocket. I've been good to you, and you've been a good customer. Let's just pretend this never happened, okay? Let's just go back to... But I didn't hear the rest. I snatched up my sunglasses, and was out the door before he could say another word. I spent a while thinking about that, and the more I processed it, the worse it seemed to get. It began to haunt my dreams, seeing him bent over and eating the hair. Straight off the floor, looking back at me and grinning with my hair in his teeth, and I would wake up in a cold sweat. I know, it's not a particularly scary thing, but it freaked the hell out of me. I don't really like it when people put hair in their mouths. I had a girl in elementary school who used to chew her pigtails, and it bred a lifetime phobia in me. Just the thought of wet hair in someone's mouth makes me want to puke, and I can't even touch someone's hair without cringing if they have a wig. A weird collection of phobias, but they're mine. It only took a couple of weeks before I started seeing new growth. My hair just grows too fast, and after 3 weeks my boss commented that I was looking shabby. He handed me a 20 out of his own wallet, and told me to get a trim over lunch. I took it, and started looking for somewhere to get a trim. The city had quite a few shops, but it seemed like whenever I was in one, I caught someone looking at me out of the corner of my eye. It was never anything I could prove, just a feeling, and when I looked up, I could almost catch a glimpse of Mr. Fascal. He was gone when I looked, but it made me extremely paranoid. I became aware of more than a glimpse as the weeks went on. When I rode the bus to work, I caught the familiar deep inhale of someone smelling my hair. When I was standing in a lunch line, I felt my hair move as someone inhaled. When I was at Walmart buying groceries, someone actually touched my hair, but they were gone when I turned around. It led me to become something of a recluse, and I only left the house to go to work. Over time, my hair grew out, and I decided I would have to get another cut. I went to bed, setting my alarm so I could get up early enough to get to the master cuts down on Bonnie. It was Saturday, I had the day off, and I had chores to do before I got to the business of relaxing. As I slipped off to sleep, I fell into a familiar dream, a dream that had plagued me for weeks. I was sitting in the barber chair at Mr. Fascal's, the cape falling around me like a spider web, and the old man asking me if it was too tight. I didn't say anything, I was too scared to speak, and as the scissors began to clip, I trembled in fear. I didn't dare look back at the old man. I just knew his real face would be replaced by a monstrous visage, and I would wake up panting and looking around for nothing at all. When the alarm went off, I went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face and start the shower. My bare shoulder itched, and when I went to wipe it off, I noticed there was hair clinging to my sweaty hand. Not a lot, just leavings. Like the leavings you find after a haircut. I ran to the bathroom and found that my hair was cut just the way I liked it. The sides were high and tight, the top was manageable, but still thick, and my bangs were perfect. Everything was just as it usually was, and I felt a cold chill run through me that had nothing to do with air conditioning. I called the landlord, had the locks changed, and reported to the police that someone had broken into my house and cut my hair. The police didn't really take it seriously. They made jokes about a midnight barber, and asked if I'd left a tip under my pillow. I told them about Mr. Fascal, but when I gave them the address, they just shook their heads and walked away. They thought I was joking with them, they didn't believe a word of what I told them, and as I ran the shower, I remember sitting under the water for a very long time, and just letting it run over me. The bits of hair flowing down the drain felt like a betrayal. 2 weeks later, I woke up with another fresh haircut. I called the police, but they rolled their eyes and told me to calm down. I told them it was hard for me to calm down when someone was breaking into my house and cutting my hair. I demanded they go check on Mr. Fascal and told them right where his shop was, but they looked less amused this time at the suggestion. I asked if they had been to talk to him yet, and told them he had been there for 3 years, but they just told me it hadn't been funny the first time and it wasn't funny now. Why would it be funny? I asked, having to stop myself from grabbing one of them. Because Fascal's has never been open. It was a prop for the city's revitalization project, like Cooley Flowers across the street from it, or Green Butcher beside it. It's set dressing, it's never open. Mr. Fascal was a guy who owned a barber shop in the 20s. He's dead. There is no Fascal who cuts hair. They left, and that left me very rattled. Mr. Fascal isn't a ghost, I know that. I have friends who go to him. I have felt him touch me. He's flesh and blood, just like I am, I'm sure of it. The fact that he eats hair is incidental. The man is real. But if he isn't Mr. Fascal, then who is he? How does he keep breaking into my house? I have a window in my room, but it's barred with a piece of broom handle, and I live on the 3rd floor. I changed the locks again, I wedged a chair under my door, and when I finally made myself calm down enough to sleep, I hoped it would end. I woke up completely bald. Not buzzed, not at a 0 guard, but bald. Like someone shaved my head in my sleep and took the hair. They got my eyebrows too, my 5 o'clock shadow, and my thick sideburns. I was as smooth and hairless as a newborn baby. I don't know what to do. I can't call the cops, they won't believe me. I can't call the landlord, he's replaced the locks twice now and is getting angry about it. I can't afford to move, I can't leave my job, I'm stuck. What I did find, however, was a message left on my nightstand. I'm sure the cops will say that I wrote it, but I know I didn't. There's hair on it, and it's written in a heavy hand like a kid's scribblings. It's done on the back of an ad for Fascal's hair and beards, and the implication was pretty obvious. Come see me when it grows back. If you don't, it makes no difference. I know where to find you.